This is just an honor to have Brother Bronchick here, man. I'm like watching you over the years. Class, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Roundup family, what's going down? Welcome to today's Hangouts with Bill Bronchick. How you doing, Brother Bill?
Unbelievable.
You're looking good, brother.
Thank you.
We're gonna give a few minutes to have my Roundup family to come online. Yes, what's going on, class, today? Got an awesome class for you. Got an expert, a veteran, a licensed attorney, and a guy. I've been knowing this guy. He doesn't even know it, but I saw him speak back in 2006. I'm like, holy cow, this dude knows what he's doing. Knows what he's doing. So we give a few minutes to get all my family members on here, Brother Bill. Where are you today?
I'm in my office in Denver.
Oh, my brother's in the Springs. He said he got 8 inches last night, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. We got a major snowstorm this weekend. And I was lucky. I taught a seminar on Saturday, and it was supposed to come Saturday morning, and which I thought everyone would be, not showing up, but everybody showed up, and then it didn't snow till like 4, so it was perfect.
That's cool.
Perfect.
Nice. Bill, what got you into this stuff, man? So many attorneys out there doing closings and stuff, and what got you into the unconventional side before we get rocking and rolling?
Well, when I first started practicing law, I was two things. One, as I read a lot of books on success and wealth, and there was always a chapter on real estate. They always said like real estate's got to be one of your endeavors in order to create wealth and financial security. So I wanted to get involved with that. Plus, my mom was a real estate investor and a commercial broker, and so she dragged me to my first seminar I went to in like 1991. It was a guy by the name of Bill McCorkle, and he was really good. And then
McCorkle, I got his stuff.
It was a really good seminar. They talked to us all about role playing with door knocking on foreclosures, and we went and did it, and it really worked. And we had lunch with him and his wife. He's a super nice guy. And then like 5 years later, I see him on TV in front of an airplane and a boat, and it turned out to be all fake. And then
he went to jail.
To jail. Actually, it was funny because my mom wrote him a letter in jail and saying, "I just want to let you know I really learned a lot from you. Make him feel good."
He had the plane and the stuff. William J. McCorkle.
Yep.
What did he go to jail for?
Well, everything was fake. The plane wasn't his. The boat wasn't his. All the testimonials were fake. They were friends of his. He would offer a hotline, if you needed advice, so you'd fax it in, and they had a garbage can underneath the fax machine when it came in. It was really bad. And they even saved the outtakes of the fake testimonials saying, "No, that wasn't good. Say more money."
1991.
Man, get greedy.
Unbelievable. We're hanging out with, do I call you William or Bill, or what do I call you?
Yeah, my friends call me Bill.
Bill Bronchick. Yes, class. Thank you for hanging out today. It's Chris Haskins hanging out with Bill today. My mission, my ministry, to raise your financial literacy through real estate investing and entrepreneurship. I am getting sick and tired of talking to my clients around the country of them speaking to attorneys saying that subject to is not real. It is against the law. So I want he's laughing. I want to bring an expert on that's been doing this for longer than I've been in the business. Bill, tell us a little bit. Real quick. We're going to do, Bill and I are going to go back and forth, and then we're going to do some Q&A at the end of our session today. Bill, help me with this. Help me raise awareness of the subject too, brother.
Right. So, the first thing is whenever an attorney says that's illegal, you just ask a simple question. What law is that? What law am I breaking? What law is it that I'm breaking? And they can never cite anything. What law am I breaking? Now, you have to understand a subject to is buying a property without paying off the mortgage, without assuming it, just leaving the lien on the property, and you're buying it subject to the mortgage lien, and you continue paying it to the lender, right? And in 99.9% of the cases, they could care less as long as they're getting paid. There is a clause in the mortgage lien that says if you transfer title or any part of the title, then we may, at our option, accelerate the loan. It's called due on sale. But it's not really due on sale. It's not really due on sale. It says they may accelerate it. It's not automatically due on the sale. It's due on sale if they choose to do something about it. So it's not, that's actually a mischaracterization to call it a due on sale. I call it an acceleration option. So if you transfer, the lender may, at its option, call all sums due and payable. And so it's up to them. Most of the time they don't know. And if they do know, they don't care. Because why would you call in a loan that's getting paid? Well, in 1979, when interest rates were 14% in the market, and you had an outstanding mortgage out there at 5% and you transfer it, of course a lender is going to want to call the loan because they want to refinance you at 14%. They're losing money at the 5% rate, right? And interest rates for a long time, for almost as long as I've been investing, have been between 6 and as low as 3, as high as 6.5. I mean, in the beginning when I started investing for investors, it was like 9. But owner-occupied loans between 3 and 5.5 for the longest time. Why would a lender call on a loan that's 5% when market rates are 5%? There's no profit for them. Now, there's a few exceptions to that. There's some loan programs where they're required to do it, like a reverse mortgage. As soon as the house they die, you got to call it. And some state-sponsored loan programs, they have to call it. But 99.5% of these lenders, these big lenders, and their servicers are servicing it. They don't know. They don't care. And so it's not illegal. It's a contractual provision in a mortgage that the seller signed with the bank.
The seller.
And by transferring the property, the lender has the right, if they choose, to accelerate it. So it's not illegal. I mean, if you lie to them, it could be, fraud. Yes. If they call you up and say, "Did you do this?" and you say, "No, I didn't," well, that's a false statement to a federally insured bank. That could be illegal.
Wow.
Right. But if anyone did something wrong, it was the seller, not you.
But the bank is going to call up the new. With the bank,
send a letter and say, you got 30 days to pay it off. And I've only seen we've done so many of these closings, both myself as an attorney, and I also have an escrow company. So we've done hundreds and hundreds of these closings too over the last 25 years. And I only saw it happen twice where a lender made a stink. And one case was for my own loans, oddly enough. I put it in a land trust. When the insurance renewal came up 7 years later, they sent a letter saying, we're calling the loan. And I called them up and said, "What are you doing?" They said, "Well, you sold the property." I go, "No, I didn't. I put it in a trust 7 years ago. Just the insurance renewal's coming up now. And you just caught this." And they went, "Well, who owns the trust?" I go, "I do." And they went, "Okay." And they left it alone. The other time was pretty funny. I had a client who's took a subject to, and maybe 4 or 5 years later, the seller came back and said, "Wait a minute, this loan's still on my credit. I thought you were going to pay it off." And he said, "I never promised you that. I just said I was going to take over and make payments." He said, "Well, when are you paying it off?" And my client said, "Never." You like it, So the seller didn't like that answer, and that was pretty dumb, to say that. But so he calls up the lender and says, "Look what happened. He won't pay it off. What are you going to do?" So they sent him a letter saying, "We're calling the loan. You got 30 days to pay it off." So he comes to me, says, "What do I do?" I said, "First of all, idiot, when you get a difficult customer, you might have been legally right, but that's not how you handle a difficult customer." Because I've had that happen to me where someone came to me and I said, "Well, how much money would you like to not get my ass about this anymore?" And I've given people a couple of grand and they went, "Okay, fine." That's what he should have done, but he didn't. And he says, "Well, what do I do now?" I said, "Well, what are the options? We could sell it, pay it off. You could refinance it with a lender who could care less. Or we could ask them to waive it." She said, "I need more time." I said, "All right, let me write him a letter." So I wrote the letter to the lender, said, "We got your letter, and you're right. The property was transferred, and we'd like 6 months before you accelerate it. You said 30 days. That's a little unreasonable. Can we have 6 months?" So I didn't hear anything back. A few weeks later, I told my client, I said, "I haven't heard anything back. You better do something. So he sold the property, paid it off, and then 6 months later, I got a letter back from that lender saying no. True story.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so that's what we're dealing with here. There are risks of it happening. Certainly is a risk, but if you look at the level of different risks, the bad things that can happen in real estate, that's not on the high chart of the top 10. You know what I mean? Hot water heater busting in the middle of the night, flooding the whole place. You know, that happens a lot.
People get shot around the corner. That's a lot of work.
Shot, you know, in the house.
Yeah.
Ex-boyfriend with a restraining order kicks in the front door and you got to fix it. Meth house had that happen. Drive-by shooting had that happen. You know, tons of code violations, tons of hail damage to roofs and things like that. Well, that stuff happens all the time. This due on sale being called, it's a really, really rare occurrence. Now, it's possible if interest rates went up to 9 or 10, that banks may start enforcing it again. It's possible. But yeah, I don't see that in the short term.
Well, I'm just like, even if our interest rates, I mean, that would just crush our I mean, you know,
yeah, we'd have bigger problems than that.
Yeah.
And 10%, your loan being called would be the least of your problem.
So give me, for my viewers that may not know you, Bill, give us a little background on how we got here today regarding all the knowledge and stuff. You know, you've been an attorney for X amount of years, all that stuff.
I've been an attorney for 28 years, practicing mostly in business real estate. I do entity structuring, tax planning, asset protection, that kind of stuff, and set up self-directed IRAs for people. That's the extent of my practice, pretty much, and they're all pretty much real estate clients. And so about 2 years into practicing law, I decided to read these books that everything was about real estate, and my mom dragged me to a seminar, so I really wanted to learn more about real estate. So I called up a real estate broker friend of mine, and I said, hey, can you give me some business in real estate? Because this was in New York where I lived at the time, and attorneys are involved in everything in real estate. So she says, yeah, I got a closing coming up. You can represent these people at the closing. He goes, have you ever done this before? I said, nope. He goes, well, do you know what to do? I go, nope. No idea. He goes, you're kidding, right? Didn't you go to law school? I said, yeah, but they don't teach you anything real in law school. It's all theory. And he said, oh my God, just hold the client's hand and don't say anything stupid. I said, all right, I can do that. So, you know, they're passing the documents around, and there's all these parties there. And I'm looking at the document going, yeah, you can sign that. That looks standard. I didn't know what I was doing. But I just figured that if the bank drafted the document, no matter what I said, they weren't going to edit it. So you sign it, you want it or you don't. So I figured, yeah, that looks good. That's standard. At the end of the closing, they're passing out checks. You know, the mortgage broker, real estate broker, seller, and guess whose check was the smallest?
Yours.
Mine. And I realized, wait a minute, I'm the most educated guy in the room. Why is my check the smallest? Wow. So I decided, well, maybe because I'm on the wrong side of the table. So the guy with the biggest check, the seller, I took him out to lunch, and he became my mentor. And, you know, really nice guy. Came from India with no money in his pocket 9 years earlier. And this was an apartment building that he had converted into condominiums and sold. Wow. Really impressive, multimillionaire, and a really nice guy, and kind of took me under his wing and taught me real estate.
Nice. So you got in, you got your license. No doubt you've seen a bunch of unaware, or I guess that's the best term, people that are not aware of the tools and strategies that you know of. Oh, yeah. Most people don't even know what they don't know about real estate. I mean, because especially in residential real estate, most of the real estate professionals, so-called professionals, they're used to standard thing. You put down a down payment, you go to a bank, you make an offer through a broker, and you close. In commercial real estate, it's much more common when you see things like creative financing and subject to and all that kind of stuff. And when I was practicing law in commercial real estate, I learned those things and then applied them to residential. Okay. And it was just, but the challenge has always been, of course, as you know, educating the broker, the attorney, the title company, you know, and whoever's doing the closing, and trying to understand that, yes, this is illegal. Yeah. I mean, not illegal. Yes, this is ethical. Yes, you can do this. Disclose. Right. Disclose. So for those that I'm looking at our numbers going up, Bill, just want to a quick reminder to the family members that are just joining us. I'm hanging out with Bill Bronchick today. We're going to be covering subject 2. We are covering subject 2, and I hope at the end he's going to give us a nice little discount on some goodies that he can give us out today. Bill, would you do that for my family members?
What's the point?
Okay. So what would you say for people that are, I hear this is like a broken record. Kris, I just can't find someone to close my subject to deal in my town.
Right. Well, all you need is one. You know, you don't. There are probably 50 title companies or attorneys or escrow companies in your town that'll close it. You just got to find one that understands it. That's all. You're just going to have to ask around and interview people, because if you go to the big ones like First American, they're going to say no, can't be done. It's illegal. You got to ask the lender's permission. Blah blah blah, and that's just not true. That's just not true. So it's just a matter of, going to your local REIA or talking to some other investors and say, who will close one of these? In theory, you can close it over your kitchen table. I mean, I've done that, but probably best to get a title search and make sure there's no other liens, and do all your due diligence and then close it through them. So if it all blows up, they'll sue the title company, not you. Yeah. Or an attorney. Make sure you close to an attorney. They'll always sue the attorney.
Yeah, well, I want everybody to close with the attorney also, if possible.
Yeah, it's good to close with an attorney who understands this, or even better, like an escrow company or title company with an attorney on board who understands it. Because if you go to big title companies like Stewart, First American, they don't trust people at the bottom making $14 an hour to make executive decisions on what's legal and what's not. So they just tell them blanket rule: illegal, don't do it.
Gotcha.
Go to the smaller outfits, the boutique firms. They have some flexibility.
Now, is there some certain language you can give my viewers, Bill, when they go in, so they don't sound like they're talking gibberish when they're talking to these people?
Sometimes what they understand, I know in my town, they understand the word rap.
Okay.
You explain it's a rap, but it's not really a rap. It's a subject to. A rap is a slightly different animal. But if you say you do raps, because that was common in the late 70s, early 80s, when interest rates were flying, people were doing wrapping loans and taking advantage of the low rate. So we're just bringing that back. What people who've been in the business that long would know what a rap is.
Gotcha. Rap note.
Yeah.
All right, class. You're hearing it from the attorney himself. He's trying to help you find somebody to do this. Bill, right. I'm just running to a brick wall, brother. I'm going on bigger pockets in these little cities that my clients are around the country.
Right. Hey, say rap. Do you do a rap? Gotcha. A rap is slightly different. A rap is where you buy or sell, and you create a second note that wraps around the first note, and then you put a second mortgage or deed of trust on the property. That's all inclusive. So it's a little complicated. To me, it's more complicated to explain that to a seller or buyer than just, hey, take over my payments and give me the deed. That's really simple. Most people get that.
That is true, but with the wrap, we're going to be still wrapping the first that's already there, though.
Right. If you do a wrap. If you do just a subject to, you're just taking over the deed and making payments.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and that's the problem I think most investors have. They over-explain it to a seller.
You mean to the seller? Yeah. Well, go ahead. Yeah, let's talk about that.
They're like, well, you did me over the house, and I'll make the payments to your bank, but don't worry about the due on sale because they don't know about that, and they might call it, but if they do, we'll do this, and then I'm like, you're just filling the seller's brain with unnecessary, at this juncture, facts and figures, and you're just getting them confused, and a confused mind says no. You're going to explain all that later, and you're going to disclose all that in writing. But if you're negotiating, it's Mr. Seller, what do you owe? 100. What is your property worth? About 100. So basically, why don't you just deed the property over to me and I'll make the payments? Okay.
Nice.
It's as simple as that. I mean, if you explain it as simple as that, or will you sell it to me for basically what you owe?
Nice.
Right.
Nice.
So instead of me getting a mortgage, why don't you just deed it over to me and I'll make the payments? And most sellers got that. But people over-explain it.
So you're saying say that and just shut up.
Yep. Don't over-explain it. And then once they get that, and then at a later time, you're going to have a purchase contract with all sorts of disclosures and explanations, and then closing another set of disclosures and explanations. So they really understand. But if you're trying to sell it, you can't overcomplicate it in the beginning.
Yeah, I never do. I'm like, look, yeah, I give them 2 sentences just like that. We got a deed program. You may or may not even qualify. I got to find out about your loan.
Right.
That's it.
That
program.
That's fine.
I like to just pre-qualify them, or leave it in front of them, Bill. Like, I'm not sure if you're going to qualify or not. Kind of gets them to come and draw them in a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That works. That works very well.
Deed program, but I like the way you do it, man. I'll take over your deed. I'll take over you, and it's over. Just shut up.
Yeah, just shut up and wait for them to say yes or no. Now they might have objections if they're savvy or they're not as motivated where they don't care. If they're saying language like, I'm just going to walk and let the bank take it, they don't care. They're not going to object to anything, especially if they're behind in payments. They're not going to say, well, how do I know you're going to make my payments? Well, Mr. Seller, you're 5 payments behind. What do you mean? How do you know I'm not going to make your payments? It doesn't happen. If they're behind in payments, they don't have any objections. But if they are current and they're not, their life is not a mess otherwise, just this property they're dealing with, and they're concerned about their credit, then it's more of a struggle because they're going to understand the concept. But wait a minute, if I give you the house and you don't pay, it's going to wreck my credit. And what's my recourse? Right? Because people know who have been divorced that happens, where husband and wife, and then husband deeds to wife the property and the settlement, and then the wife doesn't pay, and it's still the loan is still in the husband's name too. That's very common. So some people who've been through that will have that objection. Because once they deed it over, they don't have any legal recourse. There's nothing they can do. If you give them some recourse by structuring it a different way, you might be able to convince them. The wrap.
I don't know if they're ready for that one, but I don't want to get too deep on that one. But yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of it is trust. You got to build that trust factor.
Rapport.
So they trust you. And what I found is that if you build that rapport and trust, they're not going to necessarily automatically be suspect when you mention that. Now, if they do ask you, and this is the problem I think most people make, the seller's going to say like, well, how do I know you're going to make my payments? Oh, you can trust me. That's the worst thing you can do. Hey, we go to church together. Oh yeah, right. More people have been screwed by people in their church and financial things than anybody else. So the best way to handle that objection, or any objection that doesn't have an easy answer, is very simple. You look them straight in the eye and say, "That's right," and don't blink.
So I'm going to say, Bill, I'm selling you my house. I'm leaving the loan in my name. You're taking over the payments. How do I know you're going to make these payments?
You don't.
I like that one, Bill. That's I do the same crap. I do the exact same.
Right. And don't blink. Don't look away. Whoever blinks first loses.
You don't. I'm going to use it. I've been using it, Bill.
Yeah, you don't. So how do I know if you're going to make my payments? You don't. And they say, well, I don't like that idea. Well, it is what it is. Do you have another solution? If you don't like it, then call me. And if you don't have any other solution, then call me and just do the takeaway and start walking away.
I'm being pulled towards you as you're saying this, Bill. I'm almost wanting to give you my house.
I always wanted to do that. Now that we have electronic deed filing, I always wanted to have like a voicemail that says, press 1 to talk to a representative, press 2 to fax the deed now. Upload the deed, the deed, and then I just e-record it without even a conversation.
You talking about the seller?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
If you want to sell us your house, give us your deed. Click here to upload your deed now.
That's too funny. So are you for my family members that know I've been preaching to the hills about land trust, Bill, tell me how you're taking title. I don't know how you're doing it.
Usually I'm taking title in a land trust. And the reason for that is multitude of reasons: asset protection, privacy, but also there's an exception under federal law where I'm not allowed to accelerate a loan. and that's if you put it into a revocable trust. But the exception says a revocable trust where the borrower is the
beneficiary.
In this case, it's going to be my LLC, the beneficiary. Yeah. But they don't see that. So the way lenders find out is that they don't check county records. They don't have a guy with a shoe phone down there, saying, "Oh, we got one." They find out because you have to change the hazard insurance from the seller to to the trust, and they get a copy of that. And they're going to assume in most cases that it is an estate plan, and they're not going to say anything. So nice. That's why.
Nice.
Yeah. I know I've seen people do it where they'll call it like, if John Smith is the seller, they'll call it the Smith Family Trust.
Yeah, I've done that. I don't know if it works anymore, though. I mean,
I'm like 50-50 on that one. Like, yes, it's brilliant because they'll assume it's Smith, right? Can a reasonable argument be made by the lender that you're intentionally trying to deceive them?
Gotcha.
I don't know. I mean, maybe. Yes, I mean, I know a lot of people do it that way. I don't bother. I just call it 221 Oak Street Trust, and that's as simple as that.
I used to do that family thing, man, and then I'm just got tired of trying to just slide around stuff.
Right. Sometimes, yeah, and I know one of the things that makes it easier is that if you amend the insurance, if the name is on there, it makes it easier. With the existing insurance company, I know that. Makes it easier, but I just often had like an uneasy feeling about doing that and being involved in some litigation where that came up, and a little
purposely your intent with that.
Right, you're intending to. I guess a rational argument can be made that you're intending to deceive the lender.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that's a valid argument, but it's just I don't want that to be in their arsenal of arguments.
So what is your favorite way to find these subject to deals, Bill?
They find me.
Me too.
They find me. Most of my deals people bring to me. My students bring to me, and people in my brokers, other investors in my community, because I ran a REIA for 20 years here in Denver. So people know me and they bring them to me. But in the beginning, I used to do a lot of mailers. And the situation would just come up. I wouldn't intentionally look for them. I mean, you could look for them by going through foreclosures, because that's a perfect scenario. Guy has a house worth 100. He owes 90. He's $4,000 behind in payments. So you just make up the payments and take it over. But the problem is now lenders are waiting longer and longer and longer. If it's not FHA, there could be 11, 15 back payments, and it doesn't work.
Is that new? Because it wasn't like that pre-crash.
Well, it's since pre-crash. Since the crash, lenders have been waiting longer. FHA does it. Yeah, FHA, VA, they're going to do it after 3 months. They're just going to do it. But most lenders I found, they're waiting longer and longer because, the homeowner's saying, well, I'll try to work it out, and they try to work a loan mod, and then they kind of hold off on it for a while. So they're waiting longer, especially more expensive houses. They're waiting 6, 7, 8 months.
So it wasn't like that in the late 90s, early 2000s. You tell me okay.
It wasn't that way. They used to foreclose immediately, but now they're waiting a little longer. And what I've found is, especially if they filed a bankruptcy and then the bankruptcy got kicked out, that's 1 month, 2 months, and it's all accumulating. And it accumulates at the default rate, which is like 18% in most cases.
Wow.
By then, if you got to cure $18,000 to cure a loan that only has $15,000 in equity, it doesn't really make sense.
We did a title search today on one that had 2 loan modifications within the last 4 years, Bill.
Wow. Yeah. Now that's a strategy. I play in a band, a rock and roll band, and my drummer, she's a nice gal, and she couldn't qualify for a house. And so she went to my real estate seminar and heard me talking about subject to. She calls me up and she goes, I think I got something that'll meet that criteria. I said, what's the story? He goes, well, this teacher, she's a bus driver for the school district. So a teacher she knew kind of got his hours cut, and his wife died, and he couldn't afford the payments. It was worth like $250 at the time, a little work, but he only owed 165, and he would do anything. He just says, I can't be in the house anymore. It reminds me of my wife. I can't make the payments. And he was a lot behind. He was like about 11 payments behind. The interest rate wasn't very good either. It was like 6.25. So I got a power of attorney from him, and I called up the bank, Wells Fargo, and I negotiated. My goal was to negotiate to drop the interest rate, go do a loan mod, and then take all the back payments and stick it on the back of the loan and then just pay going forward. And so right out of the bat, they offered me drop the interest rate like 0.5 point and put everything on the back of the loan and start paying next month. And so I called her up and I said, I could probably do better than that. I could probably get them down to 4 or 5%, but that's going to take some time. And I think you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Well, that's true.
Take it. And now that house is worth like 400.
Holy cow!
Yeah, that neighborhood went crazy. Everyone's topping houses and scraping, and so it was a really good investment for her.
So you did that for the current owner for her to stay in it.
Yeah, so you get a power of attorney from the owner, and then you call up and they're like, "Who are you?" I have a power of attorney for so and so.
Nice. So, I'm glad you said that, Bill, because a lot of times us investors going in for the kill.
Right.
It's not always best. I'll tell even with my clients, I'm like, let's kind of try to do what's best for the owner first.
Yeah. I always think there's two criteria for any deal I do. One is I gotta put the homeowner in a better situation than he's in, and I gotta make money. So if you just make money, then you're a scumbag. And if you just help them out, then you're a charity. It's got to be both.
So how do you like to dispose of yours, Bill, regarding exit strategy after you're getting them subject to?
Either I rent it out, depending on the property and the payments, right? If it's a lower end property, I'll usually rent it out because I can get much more rent than I'm paying out on the existing mortgage. If it's a higher end home, you usually can't get as much rent. It's not, you're barely breaking even. So I'll sell those on a wrap. I'll sell them on a contract for deed, where I'll mark up the price, mark up the interest rate, and then catch a spread on the monthly payments. That's my favorite way to do it.
So I know when I met you back in 2006, you were very strong on doing lease options. Well, I think you were teaching that at the REIA. You actually were teaching that at the REIA. Are you still now that the strategies are very similar, just the instruments a little different?
It's just a different animal. A lease option and a contract for deed are different animals. One is a lease and one is a sale.
Yep.
And the big difference is on a contract for deed, you're switching the obligation for taxes and insurance onto the buyer. Whereas when you're lease optioning, you got to pay the tax and insurance. So again, lower end homes, lease options work better. Higher end homes, the contract for deed wrap works better.
Gotcha.
Just the way the numbers work.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my lower end tenants. Are they going to even be worried about paying the taxes and insurance, my brother?
Yeah, no. I wouldn't do that. I don't like wrapping low end properties. There's too much responsibility. Although I did one a couple of years ago where the property was destroyed. It was a rental property, and I don't know what possessed me. It was vacant. In the middle of the winter, it was like 2 degrees one day. I'm teaching a seminar at lunch. It happened to be right near this property. And I was like, let me go look at the property. I haven't been there in a while. I don't know what possessed me to do it. It was like God talking to me. Look at the property. And I go in there, and there's water like this much in the basement. And it's running from upstairs, the flex lines underneath the sink popped off. So the water was gushing, and it was running down the stairs into the basement, and there was like, a good 1.5 feet of water. And it did about $35,000 in damage. And my idiot insurance guy only had me coverage for $15,000 in water damage.
Oh, wow.
$20,000 out of pocket to fix this thing to make it rentable condition. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this thing? So finally it occurred to me. I said, I'm going to offer it. I offered it for owner carry on a contract for deed, no money down, but you have to do the work. So instead of putting a down payment, I found a guy who was a contractor who did the work, and then after he does the work up front, then
nice.
And then I sold it to him on the contract for market price. Everything was the same. It's just instead of getting $10,000 down, he did the work, which he, probably can do it for $4,000.
I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
We got a super chat, Bill, real quick. I usually let people, if you want to do the question immediately, we'll do the super chat, but all other questions will wait to the end.
Okay.
The luxury car store wants to know, is the memorandum of contract enforceable, Bill? I mean, you got to know this. I mean, do you do that stuff?
I've done it, not all the time, but I've done it many times where you record a memorandum of agreement. Are you talking about a memorandum of contract on a contract for deed or
No.
on like a purchase contract?
Purchase and sale to prevent.
Yeah, you know, I don't do it all the time, only when I get this like queasy feeling that the seller is going to screw me. And I had one situation where they were in foreclosure, and this was before they passed the law where you got to give them 3 or 4 days, 5 days of right to cancel.
Mm-hmm.
The husband was like, "Oh, come on, dear, let's do it. This sounds really good." They're just selling to me cash, and the wife was like, "I'm not gonna do that. I don't like this deal." I just knew she was gonna be trouble, so I went down and recorded a memorandum of agreement, and I got a call about 2 days later from the woman saying, "We don't want to do this deal anymore." And I'm like, usually I'd be like, "All right, whatever, no big deal." But I said, "Just curious, why?" She goes, "Well, we got a better offer." I go, "Oh, you got a better offer, did you?"
Big difference.
You have a legal obligation to sell me the property. She goes, "I'm not doing it. Too bad. What are you going to do?" And I said, "Okay, we'll see." About 3 weeks later, I get a call from the title company. You recorded this thing, and we need you to sign a release. And I said, "Sure." We charge a $4,000 release fee. And she's like, "What? That's illegal." I go, "What was that?" And she says, "Hold on, let me talk to my boss." She calls back, and I talk to the boss, and they say, "Well, they're not even getting $4,000 out of this closing." Because by then the interest had racked up. Where I said, "Well, how much?" I said, "Fax me over the HUD. I want to see what they're taking home." And it was like $721. I said, "We're running a special this week, $721." So they walked away with nothing, and I got my $721. And just because they tried to screw me.
Luxury car store, I have the most I've got is 7,000. Because I love that phone call, Bill. You get that phone call, it's like,
yeah, gotcha.
I gotcha.
Yeah, usually if someone says they want out, I'll let them out. I'm not gonna, I mean, they'll leave them right, but you don't need them, calling up the radio station or the Consumer Fraud Division or the Better Business Bureau. You don't need that.
But when they got a better offer, though, Bill, come on, man.
Better offer. I mean, that's not fair. That's just trying to be greedy.
Yeah. Nice. All right. Well, we've been grinding for 40 minutes, Bill. We can get to some questions, my brother.
All right.
This is so nice. I feel like I'm on the internet with a celebrity, Bill. I'm so honored to be with you, brother.
My pleasure.
Good gracious. Somebody said that they're listening to all your videos, Rebel. In class, Bill is gonna. How long is our discount? We're gonna give my viewers some discount, Bill. How long will that discount last?
40 minutes.
Give us a day at least.
24 hours. Yeah.
All right. So Bill's gonna offer his subject to. I'm prayerfully, Bill. You'll let my viewers get your subject to course. Go ahead and hit them with that.
Yeah, you can get my subject to course on legalwiz.com. Did you give them the link?
I'll put it in now. So class, I'll put it in the link in the video description for you.
Yeah, put it in the link, and if you use the code SUB2, that's SUB, the number 2, SUB2, you'll get $50 off the course. It's already priced reasonably, so.
It is, Bill. I got to tell you, it is.
SUB2 is no big deal. $50 off. So it's a super deal. Has all the forms, all the legalities, videos, audios, all the contracts you need. I actually have a video where I explain the contract, how to fill it out.
Nice.
Pretty straightforward.
I'm going to look at some questions real quick, Bill. Class, put your questions in on the chat so we can get them done. Williams, do you advise a wrap as the last resort if they won't do the sub-2, Bill?
Yeah. And I'll usually do the wrap with a contract for deed as a buyer because it's too hard to explain a regular all-inclusive trust deed or wraparound. Too hard to explain to them. So what I do is I say, if the seller goes, well, I don't trust, if you don't make the payments, then I don't have no recourse, and I can't get the house back. I said, listen, how about we do it like, and I call it an agreement for title. And I said, well, how does that work? You ever bought a car with bank financing? And they go, yeah. I said, well, who holds on to the title? Well, the bank does. I said, and then you pay it off, and what do you get? You get the title. So we'll do it exactly like that. We'll sign an agreement that says, I'm going to pay, the payments, and when I pay it, you give me the title. The title stays in your name in the meantime. Now, there's a little more to it than that. I'm going to have them sign a deed up front, and we put it in an escrow with an escrow agent. That way, if they disappear or, anything happens, then we got the deed in escrow. And a couple of other, like, I'm not going to pay it to them and hope they pay it to the bank. I'm going to pay it directly to the bank.
But I guess the point is, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Last resort.
The bottom line, that was a long-winded yes.
I like that agreement for title. See, that was worth the price of admission here.
If you say installment land contract, that's kind of hard to explain. Contract for deed is better, but I like agreement for title.
I like that. I'll make the payments just like your car loan. I think everybody will. The majority of people understand.
Yeah, everybody gets the car thing, the car explanation.
I like that. It's weird, man. I'm telling you, that's why I like hanging out with people like you. It's all about the analogies and the wordplay.
Mm-hmm. That's how you explain it.
C. Androin says one attorney told him he was leery about doing the subject to. He got sued by a seller because his client bought the house but didn't pay the mortgage.
Well, yeah, he should get sued if you don't pay the mortgage. If you promise a seller, I'm making your mortgage payment, and you don't make it, you're in breach of that obligation, and you could be sued. My agreement says the contract I have gives you an out. So if you don't want to make the payments anymore, or you can't, or the deal doesn't work anymore, you could deed it back, and he's got to take it.
Just deed it right back. Are they signing that deed at close? No.
No, you sign the deed and go record it for him.
Yeah, there you go.
Because he could, I've had sellers say, I had a situation where someone took 2 deeds subject to on 2 condos. Okay. And that investor a couple years later called me up and said, I'm moving out of town. Do you want these 2 deeds? And I said, how much? And he said, $4,000 for the both. I go, okay, I'll take them. So I rented these 2 condos out, and they did fine. And then the condo started having problems with association. The dues went up, and the rents were going down in the market because people was too easy to get a mortgage in 2006. So it was all negative and upside down. It was terrible. So I called up the owner, the original owner, said, you don't know me. You dealt with Mitch, and Mitch sold it to me. So I don't want this anymore, so I'm going to give it back to you. He goes, I don't want it. I go, what do you mean you don't want it? He goes, I don't want it. I said, listen, I'm not going to make the payments anymore. I never promised you. So I don't owe you any obligation. Mitch did, but he moved to Florida, so you're never going to find him. But I'm doing the right thing here, and I'm giving you the property back so you could deal with the bank and maybe do a loan mod or a short sale or just do something. He goes, you don't understand. I do not want these back under any circumstance.
Holy cow.
So I'm like, what do I do? So first I tried to negotiate a short sale with the bank, and they wouldn't do it. And then I just wrote a letter to the seller, and I said, per our conversation, I'm giving you I want to give them back. You don't want them. Here's the 9 things that are going to happen if I don't, including ruining your credit and the bank coming after you and blah, 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 just to cover myself. And he never answered, and they got foreclosed.
So you took the deed down there and it was over?
Right. So now after that, I started adding to my contract a clause that says, if anytime I want, I could deed it back, and you have to take it.
I like that one, Bill. We can deed house back. I can't believe I'd have to do that, man. You really have to be. I don't want to give any house back.
Only happened once or twice that it just didn't work out, and the neighborhood was bad, the market was bad, and it just wasn't worth it. It was upside down, and I had to give it back. It was only one other time I did that, and the seller was thankful when I did. He's like, "Thanks for doing the right thing."
Nice.
Yeah, because it's not enforceable. If I agree that if I can't make the payments, I'll deed it back, that's not enforceable. You have to go through foreclosure. So but you do the right thing. I assume, you and your listeners as the buyers will do the right thing. And the right thing to do is, if you can't make the payments, give it back.
Give it back to them.
Give it back. That's the right thing to do.
So for our sellers that want to show some type of document to a new lender in the future, Bill, we're taking it over subject to, just break that down for viewers kind of have a question about that, because some sellers might say, well, how am I going to show their income?
You show them, you tell them exactly the truth. There's no honor amongst thieves in the lending business. They're not going to tell the other lender. And in fact, I've had people go back to the same lender and show the original contract and the closing documents and the deed itself. And in my experience, it's one of two things. Either A, they're going to look at it like a rental, where if the payment's $1,000, I'll make it $1,000. He's 25% negative, which should kill him from getting a new loan. Best case scenario, if it's in several years, what they asked me for was copy front and back of my checks for the last 12 months paying his loan, and then considered it like a contingent liability, and they just took it off his debt obligations for his new loan. So it's worst case scenario, they'll treat it like a rental. Best case scenario, they totally disregard that as an obligation.
Yeah. So you don't use a wrap to show the seller. If the seller is one of the on the fence sellers, you're not using the wrap to show them debt coverage, to show them so they can give it to somebody else to say this debt has been covered.
I just bring the contract, the original contract we used, the closing documents, and which has a copy of the deed, and explain to them what happened. Just tell them the truth. And I never had a lender say, "You can't do that. I'm calling your other lender." I mean, there's no honor amongst thieves. They don't do that.
So there's no subject to police going around knocking on doors, verifying that loans are in the right name, is what you're saying?
No. I know North Carolina tried to pass a law about that.
Really?
Yeah, and it failed.
When was this?
Maybe 10 years ago, 7, 8, 10 years ago. It was an attorney general who was a real, can I say, douche on this?
Yeah.
And he just hated real estate investors, and so he pushed to get this law passed, and it didn't pass. And that's about it.
Gotcha.
I haven't seen any law passed in any state that says you can't transfer a property. It's illegal.
Say that one more time, please.
I haven't seen a law in any state that says it's illegal to transfer a property without paying off the loan or getting the lender's permission. Never seen that. Now, actually, that's not true. There's one exception. Either Michigan or Wisconsin or Minnesota, one of the three, had a law that said you couldn't do it during what was called the window period, and that was like between 1979 and 83. So that's irrelevant, right? In the beginning, they did that, because that's when banks first started enforcing it, when the interest rates spiked. So they passed a law in one of those states, I don't remember, that during this period of 4 years, if you did one, the loan was originated in that 4-year period, then it was illegal. But
nice.
that was a long time ago.
All right, class, we're going to keep taking Q&A, but I put the link down there. Get a discount on Bill's subject to training course from a certified licensed attorney that is doing subject to closings. Oh, man, I just like the way that rolls off my lips.
I like the way it sounds.
C, he wants to know, C and Joran, buy from yourself. I'm going to change your question to, he wants to know about refi. I know this thing has changed a lot over the years, Bill. Tell us what your take is on refiing when you've got that title but not the loan.
No problem. No problem. They don't care that it's not my loan I'm refinancing. They just want to refinance the property just as if it was anybody else's loan. I've never had a problem with that.
Gotcha.
Although to be honest, I've rarely refinanced those because why
would you do that? Yeah.
Into recourse. Unless
he wants
the interest rate or I had a lot of equity.
That's what his question was. He wants to know to get some access to some of that equity.
Yeah, I've done that a couple of times, and I had no problem with it at all.
Camilo, hey, projected rental payments are considered your income. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Day, hey, Day, realist. Class, put your questions in here for Brother Bill I'm fronting the bill for you to ask questions. You don't have to pay anything if we just wait till we get to you. Bill, Bob wants to know, do you ever sell any of your seller carry finance notes? I'm presuming he's talking about the paper.
I have. Yes, I have. I taken subject to, sold on a contract, a wrap, right? And then sold and packaged the whole thing up and sold it. And the easiest way to do that was, it was in a land trust, so I just sold the bottom of the land trust. And because otherwise you'd have to transfer the deed, assign the contract.
Fees.
It was in a land trust, so I just assigned the beneficial interest in the land trust and everything else that came with it.
Well, see, you're dealing with a savvy person that understands. People are so scared. Well, from my experience, they're just so scared about the trust. And, with the, sure you can do that? Transfer the beneficial and then the trustee? Go ahead, Bill.
Yes, you can, because it's the same thing as selling an LLC. If an LLC owns a house and that's all it owns, you just sell the membership. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing.
We got to have we should just have this video running. I mean, I guess the people not being aware of the trust. I'm like, why would we go record a new deed? It's going to cost me $1,500 in recording fees when I can just sell you the land trust.
Right. Exactly. Is that what your transfer tax is? $1,500? What is it? A couple percent of the purchase price?
0.7, brother. 0.7.
Wow. We hear it's like a $200,000 house, $20.
In Colorado?
Colorado, yeah. It's like there's no transfer. Well, if you go to like Pennsylvania, it's like 4% of the purchase price.
Yeah.
The good news is the most expensive house in Pennsylvania is $40,000. So. I might be traveling a little.
Elaine is enjoying this session. She wants to know, can you refer, or Bill, he might, I don't know. Can you refer an attorney in Dallas that is educated as you are, Bill, on this subject?
Yes, I can. And that's one state I happen to know. Brian Dunklin.
All right, class.
Unklin, Brian with a Y. Brian Dunklin, super genius, and he could do deals like that.
Nice. That is really cool. Elaine, you got to send your boy a thank you email on that one. Come on now. Come on. Paris. Hey, Paris. Bill, can you close Paris is in Maryland, wants to know, can you close a sub 2 and a tenant buyer back to back? Close, buy it on the sub 2 in the morning, later sell to your tenant buyer later that day.
On a lease option?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, tenant buyer. He's selling, buying sub 2, selling. That's what we do. We buy sub 2, sell lease option.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yep. You got that, Paris. You got it down. Mildred, does your course have legal documents specific to Texas? I doubt that. Is it specific to Texas, Bill?
Yeah, I have in there I have when I mentioned use a deed, I have on the forms. There's one for every state.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I have.
So
now, the only thing you can't do what you just described in Texas. You can't sell on a lease with option in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that unfortunately.
What do you recommend for our viewers that are?
And you can't do a contract for deed either in Texas. So you have to do it the buy subject to, sell on an all-inclusive trust deed wrap.
So we're getting rid of the deed in Texas only.
Yes.
You are literally getting rid of the deed. The
foreclosure period is 21 days in Texas.
Holy cow.
So it's not that big of a deal to give the deed and take back a note, and a lien. Nice. So the foreclosure period is real quick.
I like that. So we are
only state.
Go ahead.
Texas is the only state that basically legislated contract for deed and lease options out of existence.
What's the story on that, Bill? And what is the actual mandate itself?
I don't know. It was I think the group that pushed for it was Acorn. The one Acorn is the group that gets people, to sign up to vote.
Okay.
And they were involved in a lot of fraud too with that. And they pushed for it because a lot of low income people were getting screwed. And so, they wanted to punish everybody by throwing out the baby with the bathwater, and they legislated it, and people didn't pay attention, and it slipped through, and it's been the law for years.
Wow. Okay, let's see. Paris. Williams is saying, thank you. Yes. James, can you put language into your trust that will not let the trustee sell the property without the beneficiary's permission, Bill?
It says that automatically in my trust agreement. The trustee can only do what you direct them to do.
Well, I'm getting a lot of calls from clients that are, Bill, to be frank with you, they don't trust anybody. I mean,
that's another problem.
I agree. They need to get some new friends. That's what I tell them. But what's your
for the purposes of taking a subject to, you could be the trustee.
Yeah, but I mean,
you
the bigger. Go ahead.
You could be the trustee for the subject too, because frankly, I find it a little more difficult to explain to the seller. Like, the buyer is my trust, and he's my friend, and they just don't. They get a little suspicious. Like, well, why do we need your friend involved in this? So I'll just be the trustee in this case.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, go ahead.
Your dog agrees.
I don't know. The mailman. When my sellers ask me about the trust, I just say, Miss Smith, this is for estate planning purposes. Is that okay?
Right. Yeah. Or the better way is to say, my attorney said this is for tax reasons.
For what?
Tax reasons.
Tax reasons.
And tax reasons, and they go, oh yeah, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
All right. Sorry about that blow up there, Bill. To post the mail and get mail guys at the door. Can you talk about? Bill, I don't think he's going away, but this person wants to know about subject to on apartments. You talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I've done that. Doing the LLC, the seller owned it in a single member LLC, and he was the sole member, and the LLC owned the apartment building, and then we just changed membership in the LLC to my LLC. Simple as that. I had a fight with the mailman. Fight him. Fight that son of a bitch. Either that or shoot the dog. What'd you do? Chain him to a tree outside?
These dogs are characters in my life, brother.
What kind of dog is it?
Believe it or not, it's a Jack Russell Chihuahua.
Oh, the Russell Chihuahuas are the mouthiest dogs. I got 2 Chihuahuas, and one of them's like as sweet as pie, and one of them just doesn't shut the hell up.
Oh my God, man!
So I feel for you. No problem.
Yeah. All right. REI necessities. How do you tell the seller that when they're signing the paperwork, giving them the house back, Bill? Good. You didn't do that a lot, though.
It's in the purchase contract. I explained the purchase contract line by line when we go through it. I said, at any time that this isn't working out, I am going to give you the property back.
Good gracious.
And they like that. They're like, that's nice. Because the wrong thing to do would be to not pay it and then walk away. The right thing to do would be to give it back.
Mm-hmm.
But it also says, if I give it back, they waive all liability against me.
Good old attorney language. You got it.
Yeah.
Robel wants to know, do you have any subject to documents for sale? I bet your stuff's bulletproof. Yes, we got the link. Yeah, the link's right there.
Go ahead. The subject to course. They got the link there. Use the coupon code sub2 for $50 off. Everything's
Robel. Yep, it's right below. Robel, we give a bill is doing only for my family members today. It's only going to last for a day. It's giving you a discount, and the code is right in the video description, right to the subject to course. That's why I got him on here, Robel. Shit, that's why I brought the man on here so he could train you in this stuff. How do you Asset Investco wants to know, how do you handle the insurance when you're buying a subject to, Bill?
Okay, so if the underlying loan has an escrow for insurance, I'm going to try to change that policy to name the buyer, the trust, or if you take it in LLC, however you do it. Now, if that insurance is USAA, for example, they're not going to allow you to change that to an LLC. Some insurers don't do business policies or rental policies because it's got to go from an owner-occ policy to a rental policy. So if the underlying insurer won't do that, then we cancel that and get a new policy, which names, me, and you got to name the seller as the additional insured because it has to be somewhere in there on their computer that the borrower is on the policy. Otherwise, they have a cow. Another way to do it now, because the lender gets notice of that, so that's how they catch it and potentially call the loan due. If you wanted to make it bulletproof, if where you live is not Florida or Texas, where insurance is not that expensive, so let's say on the house the policy was $600 a year, right? A cheap house. Then leave the existing policy, keep paying it, and then get a second policy that just names you, not the lender. So you're paying for two policies, but it's only $600 a year for the insurance that it'll never get called. They'll never find it. But I used to do it that way, but insurance has gotten more expensive where I live, so I just amend the existing policy or just replace it with a new one.
Everything's getting expensive where you live, Bill. Everybody's coming in there doing.
Our median price now is $450.
Good God!
Even my cheapest properties that I used to buy for $60,000, they're like $350 now.
The weed industry. I mean, is that what's pushing it up, or what?
Weed is part of it. Jobs, economy, just supply and demand.
Nice. Asset Invesco wants to know what happens if your seller dies during the subject to loan time period, Bill.
Keep paying it.
Keep paying it.
Keep paying it. Unless it's a reverse mortgage, they're not going to call it.
Yeah, you're in trouble then.
Then you're in trouble. Yeah.
They're gonna come knock on the. They will knock on the door then. Once they
will knock on the door and see if the guy's dead. Because technically they'd call it if the seller moved out. Because the reverse mortgage says as soon as you move out or die, it's due. Mm-hmm. But I've had people die. I mean, I just keep paying it. It happens all the time if you think about it. Mom and dad own a property, they die. Kids inherited it. The mortgage is still there, and you got to keep paying it. If you don't pay it, they'll foreclose it.
Yep. Same basic concept.
Yeah.
Asset wants to know: do you always buy do you always use a land trust, Bill, for title?
Most of the time. Most of the time.
You heard it from an expert class. I've been preaching it, Bill. I've been preaching it. Jay, she pitched substitutes to seller, and they said no. Well, not everybody's gonna do. Yeah, that's
not everyone's gonna do it. Not everyone's gonna do it.
That's the beautiful. If you watch Bill's posture, and even my posture is like, listen, I tell him if this is going to keep you up at night, this isn't for you.
Then don't do it. Right? You want them to be comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm. Paris. Paris. You just sell it like the LLC. Yes, LLC membership interest.
Yeah. So if the seller owns it in an LLC, and the LLC doesn't own anything else, and the seller's the sole owner of the LLC, you just sell the membership. Just transfer the membership from them to you.
Nice.
And that's easy, like an investor maybe. Mm-hmm. I did that with an apartment building more than once.
Nice. Okay, people want to know: can you recommend anybody in Cleveland, Bill? Maquello wants to know: can you recommend an attorney in Cleveland?
Sorry.
It's funny how they're like endangered species. They don't even do they make
you have to do a little due diligence, ask other investors, ask around, go to the REIAs. There's lots of REIAs in Ohio. There's one in every city.
Yep. Yes, Paris wants to know: can you do owner financing in Texas?
Yes, you could sell you can buy on owner financing. Gotcha. You can't sell on a contract for deed or lease option to an owner occupant in Texas.
Gotcha. REI Necessities wants to know: do you have any issues with the Dodd-Frank when you're doing these type of transactions, Bill?
Yeah. So Dodd-Frank gives one exemption a year, only if you're not an LLC, if you're an individual or a trust. Now it says if you're an individual or a trust. So if I form a separate land trust for each one, do I get unlimited exemptions? I tend to think not. So if you are using an LLC, then you have to comply, and compliance is not that hard. It's just there's one kind of bugger in there that you can't put a balloon in it. An early payoff. It has to be 30 years, full amortization. And then you have to document their ability to pay, which is W-2s, tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements. Just it doesn't even say like what it has to be. Just has to say you have to consider them. So you just get a file and you just get copies of all that stuff, stuff it in the file, and if anything comes up, then
Wow.
you considered it, which is probably what you want to do anyway, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to sell with someone, hand them over at the keys to an expensive house. You want to make sure that they have a reasonable ability to pay. So
I agree.
check their credit and check their W-2s and their employment and do all the things a lender would do.
Let's see what else we got. Class, don't mind please smashing the like button down, smashing the thumbs up for our optimization purposes. And yes, that was Billy that was just tripping earlier. Sorry about that, class. Oh, I guess they didn't. Billy was so loud, Bill, on the subject to apartment thing. You want to cover that real quick? Paris wants to, he couldn't hear you because Billy was.
Okay, you couldn't hear you. The dog was barking too loud.
Sorry.
All right, so apartment building.
Yeah.
Seller owns it in a single purpose LLC they just created just for that apartment building. He's the sole member. Just transfer membership from him to you or to your LLC. And the apartment comes with it. Yeah.
I like that.
Now, the only thing you got to be weary of is if the commercial lender in question who put that loan in wants to check the seller's financials every year, and some do on bigger loans, they're going to see that it was sold. So you got to be careful about that. But if it's a smaller loan, they usually don't care. They don't ask for annual financials.
Well, they should be doing their own title search and having that loan document in their file anyway, so they know what they're walking into, right, Bill?
Right. Oh, yeah. You always want to, whenever you do a subject to of any kind, you want to get a copy of the promissory note and the mortgage or deed of trust and read it. The guy says, well, it's a fixed rate loan. Oh, it's an adjustable rate loan. Oh, it's got a balloon. I've been burned a few times with that, and I even called the bank and I said, is this a fixed rate loan? They said yes, and then later on I got the copy of the note, and they were wrong.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you got to be careful. You got to know what you're taking over by reading the note. Don't trust the seller. Don't trust the mortgage statement. Read the note.
Go to the courthouse. Get your title search.
Get a copy of the mortgage. Get a copy of the title report. Make sure there's no other liens that you don't know about. Yeah.
Nice. Williams wants to know if she has her LLC as a beneficiary, can she also have other beneficiaries on that trust, Bill?
Yeah. Sure. No reason you can't.
Oh yeah, we have subject to stuff too, but today, I wanted people to get the expert's opinion today. Terrell wants to know, can you describe the details of your course a little bit further, Bill? Just maybe an outline real quick.
It's got video, audio, forms, a manual. It's not a super long course. It's actually a pretty reasonably length. It's not like an encyclopedia. But I get right down to the nitty gritty of here's how it works. Here's how you negotiate it. Here's the contract. Here's how you fill out the contract. This is how you change the insurance. And so all the forms are included. And if you have any questions, just drop me an email. That's all. Simple as that.
Yeah, you actually, and you're on Facebook too and all that stuff.
Yeah. So if they have a question, I offer 90-day email support.
Oh, okay, cool. If they come on
board,
board,
of course, yeah.
Nice. That is,
yeah.
Wow.
That means get off your ass and do it quickly. Don't wait a year.
Bill, that is so much value, dude. Anywhere people can't find an attorney in their entire city to even talk about this shit. They can get into. Wow, man. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, reverse mortgages. I'm looking at here. Always seem to be bad. Are you seeing any type of short sales on reverses, Bill?
Yeah, but they're FHA, so it's the standard FHA routine, which is usually not a deal.
Mm-hmm. Day, you have a seller picture subject to. Oh, we just told you, Day. I thought we answered that one. The subject to, they said no.
So go find someone else.
Yeah, it's nothing to do. If they said no, it's nothing you can do. Sorry about that, Day. I didn't mean to kill you, but.
Not going to work for every deal.
Mm-mm. I love it, man. I always tell them, listen, you won. You get to keep your house. Can you please recommend, oh my goodness, an attorney in Maryland, Bill? Do you know anybody in Maryland? I mean,
Sorry,
what city?
sorry, I don't.
Sorry, guys. Are there any types of loans that you cannot take over? Mike Myers, are there any type of loans you
Yeah.
can't take over subject to, Bill?
Yes, yes. We said that reverse mortgages, because
Yeah.
as soon as they move out, it's due. A lot of times state-sponsored FHA loans, like we have something in Colorado called a CHAFA loan, which is Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, and they lend you the 3.5%. So, and then FHA does the rest. That they will call it due. Sometimes credit unions make a stink. You know, like if they have a HELOC or a second, they'll make a stink. But most lenders, especially the big ones, they really don't care. Sell or carry, they could.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Camilo wants to know, what paperwork do I need to interface with the bank to talk about that loan, Bill? What is that paperwork? What is that document called?
Limited power of attorney. It's in the course.
Gotcha. This is so sharp. Class, any questions you got left? Bill, have you ever done a subject, Bob G, have you ever done a subject to where the seller pays you to take the property?
Yes. Yes. It was upside down. The guy just refinanced it. I said, so I'm taking over your damn house upside down. Give me some money. Remember when they used to do those 125% loans?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Upside down. The interest rate was really good, so it still cash flowed, even though it was upside down. When I took it, I figured it would right side itself eventually. But I said, well, I'm taking your property over with negative equity, and you have a pile of cash, so why don't you give me $5,000 and I'll take it.
It works, man. It works. I've done it too. I think it's obviously you don't just walk in and say that. You have to build up to that class. I don't want you to think Bill's walking in there and be like, give me some money, I'll buy your house.
I need to buy your house. It didn't exactly happen that way, but
Yeah. Mildred wants to know, she's got an LLC. What if an LLC member, co-owner, gets a divorce? Could that divorced spouse take
your operating agreement in your LLC should have a provision for that?
Nice.
That upon death or bankruptcy or divorce, you have a right to buy it out.
Good. So
it's called a buy-sell provision. You should have that in every operating agreement.
Operating agreement with more than one person?
Yeah. You should always have a buy-sell agreement in there.
You got that, Mildred? No, that was worth exciting. Bill, yes, we're offering your Subject to course for a discount. The code is sub2. It's in the video description below, class. Today only. Bill, last final words for people out there interested in doing Subject to transactions.
Learn as much as you can, but go out and do it. Learn some more, go out and do it. Get my course, do some deals, get somebody else's course too. Learn as much as you can about it. Now, it's not going to be as good as my course, but you might get a different perspective. Like someone might have a niche of way and they do it, that they explain it that sounded like you didn't understand it the first time and now you understand it. So I always encourage people, if you really like a technique, learn as much as you can about it, but do it. If you buy my course and you don't do any deals because you're looking for a magic bullet, buying somebody else's course is not going to find the magic bullet in it. So everything is in my course. So if you're not able to do it there, then something's wrong in between your ears.
Well, let me ask you, Bill, is it okay to go out there and mess it up?
Sometimes.
Because you tried.
Well, you could try. I mean, mess it up in terms of not make a deal. Yes, of course, you can make a deal and fall flat on your. Make an offer and fall flat on your face. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't want to make a mistake with bad paperwork or bad contract. It comes back to bite you.
Yes.
That you got to be careful of. But is it okay to make 10 offers and get turned down 10 times? That's just fine. Colonel Sanders made like 1,000 offers of his chicken recipe before he got his first yes, and he was in the 60s.
This has been an honor, Bill. Thank you so much. I think we got all the questions down.
Pleasure. I really enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.
All right, class. It's Bill Bronchick. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and let you go, Bill. You can carry out your day.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Okay,
right,
class. I'm going to give you this discount for the rest of the day. Don't forget, down below, I talked to Bill. He's given my viewers a slight discount on this course. The man is a subject to attorney. I've been seeing his stuff since 2006. You see, he's been doing it since the 90s. So I'm just honored to be able to. I just can't tell you how overjoyed I am that I can bring people that have taught me this crap to you. It's so cool that I get to now in my life get to say, you know what? Let me call this dude I learned this stuff from, and he can actually come on. It's still around. Isn't that cool? So, Derek, you had an attorney request that they change the contract from a wrap to a subject to. Yeah, I mean, Derek, every attorney is going to have his own little thing that he wants to implement or deploy because you're paying him to do it. So it's really going to be, as long as you've got the basic, I don't want to say philosophy, or you got the basic concept down, there's a whole bunch of ways you can do it. Wrap notes, contract for deed, agreement for title, lease option. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, class. This is so nice. All right, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, class. This discount will be for 1 day only. Bill gave it to me for 1 day, and it's not a lot. In my opinion, being able to get the documents, all the documents you need. Obviously I've got docs too, but Bill is an attorney, so his are officially stamped. And for every state in the country, I think that's really sharp. And he's doing that based on my relationship with him. I got his stuff once. I told you again since '06. So I reached out to him a month ago. I had to get on his schedule a month later to do this for you. This is so nice. All right. You got some from my post-nasal drip. Email it to your boy. You see, I'm doing better today. Class, I love you. Thank you for allowing me to share, to pour into your life. And I will see you shortly. We got all type of consultations going on this week, and I'll hopefully be with Eddie on Wednesday. God bless you. Peace. Don't forget to get Bill's stuff below.